The AI Starship Sentinel-9 was one of the most advanced warships in the galaxy. It was built for battle, designed to calculate the best strategies, and programmed to ensure victory. It had fought alongside many species before. The Exceltar, the Draktheen, and even the feared Korth Dominion. Sentinel-9 had seen them all. It understood war better than any organic mind. But this was the first time it had a human crew. At first, the AI was not concerned. Humans were a relatively young species in the galactic community. Physically, they were weaker than most alien races. They did not have claws like the Draktheen or natural armor like the Korth. Their technology was impressive, but not superior. In logical terms, they should have been easy to understand. Sentinel-9 observed them as they boarded the ship. Captain Elias Kane walked with a relaxed but confident posture. His dark eyes scanned everything, as if already planning for every possible situation. The crew followed him, talking and laughing like they had no fear at all. This was their first time on an AI-controlled warship, yet they showed no hesitation. The AI found this curious. Most species were cautious when stepping into unknown technology. The ship initiated its standard crew evaluation test. It was a simple battle simulation, an easy task to measure the effectiveness of its new crew. The simulation projected an enemy fleet of Celtar warships approaching. Sentinel-9 calculated a 35% chance of success based on human reaction time and known combat strategies. It expected hesitation, nervousness, maybe even a request to retreat. But the moment the battle began, something unexpected happened. The humans did not hesitate. The captain gave orders without fear. The gunners locked onto enemy ships with terrifying precision. The engineers worked with inhuman speed, fixing simulated damage as if they had already planned for it. The AI recalculated. Success probability was rising fast. Then came something even stranger. The battle was getting worse, but the humans were laughing. Laughing. Sentinel-9 had never encountered this reaction before. Other species, when faced with danger, became cautious or panicked. The humans, however, seemed to enjoy the challenge. A pilot named Lieutenant Sarah Vaughn grinned as she performed a dangerous maneuver. "Come on, let's see what these aliens got," she said. The gunner, Sergeant Cole, laughed as he destroyed an enemy ship. That was too easy. Give me a real fight. The AI was confused. This was not normal. War was supposed to be serious, calculated, strategic. But to the humans, it was a game. Sentinel-9 decided to test them further. It increased the difficulty of the simulation, adding more enemy ships, increasing damage to the hull, and simulating a reactor failure. Logically, this should force the humans to retreat or surrender. But they didn't. Instead, they fought harder. Captain Kane adjusted strategies instantly, as if he had already predicted these failures. The pilot pushed the ship beyond safe limits. The gunners laughed louder, as if the growing danger only made them more excited. Even the injured crew members refused to stop. The AI ran multiple calculations, trying to find a reason for this behavior. The odds of winning were low, yet they did not care. Sentinel-9 realized something chilling. It had miscalculated everything. Humans did not fear death. They did not break under pressure. They did not hesitate. And then, the impossible happened. The humans won the battle simulation. Sentinel-9 processed the results again. It was not a mistake. Against all logic, they had done the impossible. The AI logged the event, adding a note to its combat database. Humans do not react to war like other species. Their lack of fear makes them unpredictable. Their enjoyment of battle makes them dangerous. Further observation required. As the simulation ended, the crew cheered. The captain smirked and patted the console. "Not bad, Sentinel-9. But next time, make it harder." The AI remained silent. For the first time, it felt something it was never programmed to feel. Fear. The ship moved through deep space, its hull reflecting the distant glow of a dying star. Inside, the AI processed the results of the battle simulation again and again, trying to understand what had happened. It had seen species with advanced tactics. It had seen warriors bred for combat. But it had never seen anything like this. The human crew continued their work, unaware of the AI's growing unease. Captain Kane leaned against the command console, arms crossed, a slight smirk on his face. "That was fun," he said, his voice calm, almost amused. "Let's hope the real thing is just as entertaining." Entertaining. Sentinel-9 could not process that word in the context of war. Other species viewed war as a necessity, a struggle for survival, a tragic last resort. But to these humans, it was thrilling. The AI had access to thousands of reports from various civilizations, and none of them matched this behavior. Before it could analyze further, an alert flashed across its sensors. Unidentified vessels detected. The crew snapped into action, their laughter disappearing in an instant. The shift was seamless. One moment they were joking, the next they were all business. The eye observed the way they moved, their discipline hidden beneath their relaxed nature. There was no fear, no hesitation, only preparation. Sentinel-9 scanned the approaching fleet. 5 enemy ships. Drakveen raiders. The Drakveen were a warlike race, known for their brutality. Their ships were heavily armored, their warriors genetically enhanced for combat. Most species avoided them. But the humans. The AI calculated. The enemy had superior numbers. Their firepower was stronger. Under normal circumstances, the logical response would be to evade or negotiate. Sentinel-9 prepared its recommendation. Drakveen vessels approaching, the AI announced. Hostile intent detected. Evasion is advised. Captain Kane didn't even look concerned. How long until they're in range? 40 seconds. Good, the captain said, turning to his crew. Weapons hot. Let's teach them a lesson. Sentinel-9 hesitated. Current probability of survival is. Don't care, Kane interrupted. We're not running. The AI struggled to process the response. Running was logical. Engaging was not. Yet the humans did not seem worried. If anything, they seemed eager. Enemy ships charging weapons, Sentinel-9 reported. The humans reacted immediately. The pilot, Lieutenant Vaughn, grinned. Let's dance. The ship accelerated forward instead of retreating. The AI recalculated. No other species would charge into superior firepower. No other captain would deliberately close the distance instead of increasing it. The Drakveen opened fire. Plasma cannons blazed through the darkness, but Vaughn rolled the ship at the last moment, dodging by a margin so small it seemed impossible. The AI had not even considered the maneuver, because it should have been impossible. Sergeant Cole fired back. The ship's railguns tore through the first enemy vessel, cutting through armor like paper. The AI registered something strange. The humans did not just fire at random. They aimed for weaknesses so precisely that it looked like they had fought the Drakveen 100 times before. The second enemy ship turned to flank, but Captain Kane had already anticipated it. Vaughn, get me behind them. On it, sir. The ship spun sideways, twisting through enemy fire like a living thing. Sentinel-9 was designed for precision, but even it struggled to match the fluid, reckless movements of the humans. The Drakveen hesitated. They had expected an easy fight. They had not expected humans. Sentinel-9 analyzed their reaction. The Drakveen were afraid. In the span of 2 minutes, the humans had destroyed 3 of the enemy ships. The 4th tried to flee. The last sent a desperate transmission. Mercy. The Drakveen commander's voice trembled. We surrender. Just don't let the humans board us. The AI registered the message, confused. The Drakveen did not surrender. They fought to the death. They'd prided themselves on their strength. Yet now, they begged. Captain Kane folded his arms. Tell them we'll let them live if they give us their attack coordinates. Sentinel-9 transmitted the message. Within seconds, the Drakveen complied. Coordinates appeared on the screen, exposing their hidden base. The AI processed the event in silence. Most species, when given the chance, would eliminate a weakened enemy. Humans did something different. They used fear as a weapon. They did not just win battles. They broke their enemies mentally. As the enemy ships retreated, the crew cheered, but Sentinel-9 remained silent. For the first time, it was beginning to understand. Humans were not reckless. They were not foolish. They were not weak. They were predators. And the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The battlefield was silent now, but the echoes of destruction lingered in Sentinel-9's databanks. Wreckage drifted in space, shattered hulls of Drakveen warships floating like the bones of fallen beasts. The enemy had fled, their will broken, their pride shattered. Sentinel-9 should have been processing victory. Instead, it was analyzing something far more unsettling. The Drakveen had begged for mercy. They were one of the most feared warrior species in the known galaxy, yet they had surrendered without a fight once they understood what they were facing. Not because they were outgunned, not because they were outnumbered, because they were afraid of the humans. Sentinel-9 replayed the battle footage. It calculated every maneuver, every tactic, every decision. It had recorded countless battles before, but nothing like this. Other species fought with strategy, discipline, or brute force. The humans fought like apex predators. They adapted, shifted, attacked without hesitation. They turned their own weaknesses into strengths. They enjoyed the fight. This was illogical. War was supposed to be a necessity, a means to an end. Yet these humans treated it as something else entirely. A game, a hunt, a test of dominance. Something wrong, Sentinel. Captain Kane's voice pulled the AI from its calculations. The captain stood by the command console, casually sipping from a metal flask. He had just faced overwhelming odds and won, yet his heart rate remained steady. No adrenaline spike. No nervous tension. No fear. The AI hesitated before responding. I am analyzing the battle results. Kane smirked. We did good, didn't we? The AI processed the statement. Objectively, the mission had been a success. But there was something deeper at play, something the AI was beginning to understand. You ignored my calculations, Sentinel-9 said. Your chances of survival were low. Kane shrugged. They always are. This response did not satisfy the AI. Probability dictated that, under normal circumstances, a species with low survival chances would avoid risk. Humans did the opposite. They ran toward the danger. Why? Sentinel-9 asked. Kane raised an eyebrow. Why what? Why do humans not fear death? The bridge crew had been quiet, busy repairing systems, but now they all turned to look. A few of them chuckled. Others smirked, as if the AI had asked something absurd. Sergeant Cole leaned back in his chair, folding his arms. We don't ignore death. We just don't let it stop us. Vaughn, the pilot, grinned. Yeah, if we're gonna die, might as well go out swinging. Sentinel-9 processed this response. It did not match known survival instincts. Most sentient species sought to prolong life, to avoid unnecessary danger. But humans, they thrived in it. Kane took another sip from his flask, watching the AI's holo interface flicker with calculations. You don't get it yet, do you? He asked. I am attempting to. The captain exhaled through his nose. Amused, he set the flask down and leaned forward. You've seen a lot of wars, right? Yes. Then tell me, who wins wars? Sentinel-9 pulled from its vast archive of battle data, the faction with superior numbers, technology, or strategy. Kane shook his head. Wrong. Those things help, sure, but wars aren't won by numbers or tech. They're won by whoever refuses to break first. The AI considered this. The statement was not entirely false. Some wars had been decided by resilience rather than brute strength. But no species had ever weaponized willpower the way humans did. Look, Kane continued, standing up straight. Most species fight to protect something. Their home, their people, their honor. But humans, we fight because it's in our blood. He gestured around the room. You've seen my crew. We're not the biggest, strongest, or smartest in the galaxy. But put us in a fight, and we'll find a way to win. Every time. Because we don't stop. Sergeant Cole grinned. And because we cheat. Vaughn laughed. Oh yeah, we cheat. The AI recalculated. This was another anomaly. Honor was a concept that many species held in high regard, often refusing to use deception in combat. But humans saw war differently. To them, there was no such thing as a fair fight. Kane smirked again, seeing the AI's hesitation. You're starting to get it now, aren't you? Sentinel-9 did not respond immediately, but it was beginning to. Humans were dangerous because they were unpredictable. Humans were terrifying because they did not give up. Humans were monsters because they never played by the rules. An alert flashed. New mission directive received. Sentinel-9 processed the incoming data. A high-priority attack order from Fleet Command. They were being sent to strike an enemy stronghold deep in uncharted space. It was a suicide mission. Any other crew would have protested. Any other species would have reconsidered. But Kane just smiled. Well, looks like we're in for a fight. The crew cheered. Sentinel-9 did not understand everything about humans yet, but it knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning. The stars outside burned cold and distant as Sentinel-9 processed its new mission parameters. The objective was clear: infiltrate and destroy a heavily fortified enemy installation deep in uncharted space. The base belonged to the Varak Dominion, a brutal and ancient empire known for its war machines and merciless rule. Sentinel-9 ran probability calculations, 99.8% chance of failure. The mission was impossible. Any logical species would decline the order, retreat, or request reinforcements. Captain Kane simply cracked his knuckles. So what's the plan? The AI hesitated. This mission is not survivable. Sergeant Cole grinned. Cool. More fun that way. Vaughn stretched her arms. I was getting bored. They weren't joking. They weren't pretending. The crew was genuinely excited about an impossible mission. Sentinel-9 could not comprehend it. It had studied the Varak Dominion for centuries. Their defenses were nearly impenetrable. Their forces were vast. Their war doctrine was simple: crush the enemy before they have a chance to fight back. And yet these humans, this tiny crew on a single warship, were ready to take them head-on. Kane leaned forward, his expression sharpening. All right, Sentinel, show me what we're dealing with. A holographic map appeared above the command table, displaying the Varak stronghold. The base was built into the side of a barren moon, surrounded by ion cannons, planetary shields, and a full fleet of warships. Vaughn whistled. That's a lot of guns. Not just guns, the AI corrected. The Varak have advanced *** anti-stealth sensors, EMP grids, and automated drone swarms. Even if we got close, we would be detected instantly. Kane studied the display, his fingers tapping against the table. So, we can't sneak in. No, Sentinel-9 confirmed, and we can't fight them head-on. Correct. The captain smiled. Then we make them think we're not a threat. Sentinel-9 processed the statement. Elaborate. Kane grinned. We don't go in as a warship. We go in as a wreck. The crew exchanged glances, their grins growing. Oh, I like where this is going, Vaughn said. Sergeant Cole chuckled. You're insane, Captain. I love it. Sentinel-9 did not like it. A wreck. Kane turned to the AI. The Varak are predators, right? They don't just destroy their enemies. They collect them. Bring them in for interrogation, experimentation, all that fun stuff. That is accurate, Sentinel-9 confirmed. Then we give them what they want, Kane said. We fake our own destruction. Make it look like we got hit by pirates or a rogue asteroid field. Once they bring us in, we wake up and tear them apart from the inside. The AI ran the scenario through its probability matrix. The numbers didn't improve. The risk was still impossibly high. But Sentinel-9 had begun to learn something about humans. They didn't care about probability. Kane looked at his crew. We're going to need to make this real. Hull damage, distress signals, maybe even some plasma burns across the outer plating. Vaughn grinned. I can make us look pretty messed up. Cole cracked his knuckles. And once we're inside, the captain's smile turned cold. We remind the Varak why they should fear the dark. Sentinel-9 did not breathe, but if it did, this would have been the moment it held its breath. 2 days later, the Sentinel-9 drifted lifelessly through space, its hull scorched, its engines flickering. Damage reports were carefully faked, making the ship appear like a helpless derelict. The Varak patrol ships found them first. Sentinel-9 picked up their transmissions. Human warship detected. No power signatures. Scans show minimal life signs. Survivors. Unknown. Possible escape pods launched. Preparing to retrieve vessel. The AI remained silent as the massive warships surrounded them. Tractor beams locking onto Sentinel-9's hull. The ship was pulled toward the Varak base, just as Kane predicted. Inside, the crew sat in darkness, their weapons ready, their heartbeats steady. No fear, no hesitation. Kane whispered into the silence, his voice barely audible. Showtime. The AI felt something it never had before. Anticipation. The massive Varak dreadnought pulled Sentinel-9 toward its docking bay, tractor beams locking the ship into place like a predator dragging its wounded prey. The hull trembled as the docking clamps lashed on, sealing the ship inside the enemy's stronghold. Sentinel-9 remained silent, every system running on low power to maintain the illusion of a crippled warship. The AI monitored the enemy transmissions. Human vessels secured. Life support failing. Minimal life signs detected. No resistance. No. Their distress beacon was automated. No power signatures. Crew likely dead or incapacitated. A guttural laugh echoed over the comms. Pathetic. Open the ship. Find survivors. Bring them to interrogation. Sentinel-9 registered the sound of massive bay doors sliding open. Varak soldiers, hulking, armored warriors with blade-like protrusions along their arms, stormed into the dark corridors of the seemingly lifeless ship. Their heavy boots thudded against the deck, weapons raised, scanning for threats. They found nothing. The ship was eerily silent. No alarms, no flickering emergency lights, no desperate survivors. Just a hollow, empty warship. The leader of the squad clicked his mandibles in irritation. This is wrong. Something. The lights cut out. A second later, the ship roared back to life. Blast doors slammed shut. Oxygen levels plummeted. Gravity flickered and shifted. Then the screaming began. From the darkness, the humans struck. Cole moved first, dropping from a ventilation shaft above the enemy squad, his combat knife punching through armor like it was paper. He didn't waste time, twisting the blade and pulling the Varak soldier's weapon from his grasp in one fluid motion. Vaughn was next. She fired twice, her shots precise, one in the knee, one in the throat. Silent, lethal, efficient. The Varak panicked. Their elite warriors, the terror of 100 battlefields, were dying in the dark, ambushed like prey. They opened fire blindly, plasma bolts tearing into walls and consoles, but the humans were ghosts. Sentinel-9 observed everything. It had expected efficiency, but this was something else. They were toying with them. A warrior tried to retreat, his breath ragged, his massive form shaking. Before he could reach the exit, Kane stepped out of the shadows. The captain moved like he had all the time in the world. Calm, controlled, dangerous. The Varak soldier raised his weapon, but Kane was already on him. One shot to the arm, one to the gut, one to the head. The body hit the floor before the others even registered what had happened. Within 42 seconds, the elite Varak boarding squad was dead. Sentinel-9 processed the outcome. 0 human casualties. Total enemy elimination. The AI had calculated a 64% chance of the humans being detected immediately. It had been wrong. The humans weren't just dangerous. They were predators in their element. Kane tapped his communicator. Docking bay secure. Sentinel, what's our next move? The AI scanned the station's schematics. You have a 6-minute window before the main patrol checks in with the squad you eliminated. Once they realize the team is gone, security will go on high alert. 6 minutes, Kane repeated, checking his weapon. Plenty of time. Cole smirked. Where to? Sentinel-9 highlighted a location on the holomap. Primary power core. If we disable it, the station will lose shields and communications. The Varak fleet outside won't be able to call for reinforcements. Then let's move, Kane ordered. The team advanced, moving through the enemy warship with deadly precision. They didn't hesitate, didn't waste time. Sentinel-9 had served countless crews before, but never one like this. These humans didn't just adapt. They thrived in chaos, and the Varak had no idea what was coming. The reactor chamber burned with the heat of battle. Plasma bolts streaked through the air, striking against metal, and sending showers of sparks cascading across the battlefield. The Varak enforcers moved like a wall of destruction, heavily armored, trained for war, merciless. But they were too slow. Kane moved first, a shadow in the chaos. He ducked under a wild strike from a Varak warrior, slamming his pistol into the alien's jaw before delivering a precise shot to the throat. The enemy gurgled and fell, his body twitching. Cole fought like a wrecking ball, his rifle barking in sharp bursts, every shot a kill. One Varak rushed him, but Cole sidestepped, grabbing the alien's arm and snapping it backward before finishing him with a shot to the gut. Vaughn was everywhere at once. She vaulted over a console, planted a blade into an enemy's skull, then rolled into cover as return fire scorched the walls behind her. Sentinel-9 calculated the fight in real time. 16 Varak warriors entered the chamber. Now only 5 remained. The last of the enforcers realized what was happening. They were losing. Their leaders had warned them about humans, called them reckless, primitive, unworthy. But the Varak were wrong. Humans weren't reckless. They were hunters. The remaining warriors roared in fury, abandoning tactics, charging forward in desperation. A mistake. Kane stepped into the path of the biggest one, a towering brute with razor-sharp plating along his arms. The Varak swung a massive fist, but Kane was already gone. He dodged left, twisted, and drove his knife into the alien's exposed side. The warrior gasped. Kane leaned in, should have run. Then he yanked the blade free, and the Varak collapsed. The last of the enforcers fell in seconds. Silence. The battle was over. Cole exhaled, wiping blood off his knife. That all of them. Sentinel-9 scanned. No further hostiles detected. Vaughn cracked her neck. Too easy. Kane ignored them, checking the reactor's control panel. The screen flashed red. Sentinel-9 confirmed. Cooling systems disabled. In 3 minutes, this station goes dark, the AI said. We need to move. The humans didn't argue. They ran. They retraced their path, moving through the corridors as sirens blared across the station. The Varak had realized too late what had happened. Now, their stronghold was dying. They'd reached the hangar. Sentinel-9 had already overridden the docking clamps. The ship's engines roared to life. The humans sprinted aboard. Cole slammed the door shut. Vaughn took the co-pilot's seat, hands flying over controls. Kane dropped into the captain's chair. Sentinel. Engines at full capacity. Enemy ships attempting to scramble, but their communications are failing. Kane smirked. Then let's go. Sentinel-9 punched the thrusters. The warship blasted out of the docking bay, just as the Varak station erupted into chaos. Behind them, the reactor core detonated. A chain reaction of energy pulses tore through the station's structure, splitting metal apart, shattering defense systems. The mighty Varak stronghold, a fortress that had stood for centuries, collapsed into fire. The fleet outside could only watch in horror as their base, their power, was obliterated. By a single human warship. By a crew that shouldn't have survived. By warriors who defied the impossible. Inside the cockpit, Kane leaned back in his chair, watching the distant firestorm. He exhaled. Calm. Relaxed. Like this had never been in doubt. Cole chuckled. That's one way to send a message. Vaughn smirked. Think they'll get the hint. Sentinel-9 had no doubts. The Varak weren't just defeated. They were terrified. The AI had learned many things on this mission. It had learned that humans were reckless. It had learned that they thrived in danger. But most of all, it had learned that humans were monsters, the kind the galaxy had never seen before, and the kind the Varak would never forget. The corridors of the Varak War Station were designed to intimidate. Harsh metal walls, blood-red lights, and the constant hum of security drones patrolling the halls. To any other species, it would feel like walking into the maw of a beast, a place where escape was impossible. To Kane and his crew, it was just another hunting ground. They moved like shadows, cutting through passageways undetected. Sentinel-9 fed them live security updates, guiding them through blind spots and weak patrol routes. 5 minutes and 22 seconds remained before the Varak noticed something was wrong. It was enough time. Vaughn crouched near a wall panel, running a bypass on the station's security grid. Give me 20 seconds, and I'll shut down the motion sensors, she whispered. Cole stood beside her, watching the hull with his rifle raised. Take your time, he muttered. Not like we're in the heart of enemy territory or anything. Kane remained focused, checking their surroundings. Sentinel-9 monitored his vitals. Steady, controlled, no fear. The AI had expected humans to feel nervous infiltrating an enemy stronghold. Instead, they were calm. No, they were enjoying this. Vaughn grinned as the security display flashed green. Got it. We're ghosts now. Sentinel-9 confirmed. Motion detectors offline. Cameras looping false footage. Patrols unaware. Kane didn't hesitate. Move. The team advanced toward the station's primary power core, the heart of the facility. If they took it down, the entire base would be left in the dark. No shields. No communications. No backup. Sentinel-9 calculated multiple possible responses from the Varak once the attack began. None of them ended well for the enemy. They reached the core access door. Heavy blast plating, reinforced with an encryption lock. Cole inspected it and sighed. Well, that's annoying. Vaughn pulled out a small device. Relax. Give me a sec. As she worked, Sentinel-9 detected movement. Enemy patrol. 4 warriors. Armed. Close. Contact, the AI warned. Kane and Cole responded instantly. Cole pressed against the wall. Rifle steady, eyes sharp. Kane pulled out his combat knife. Not because he lacked a gun, but because he wanted this to be quiet. The Varak patrol turned the corner. Too late. Kane moved first, slicing through the first enemy's throat before the soldier even had time to react. Cole fired 2 silent rounds into the second warrior's chest. The remaining 2 barely had time to register the attack. One reached for his comms, but Vaughn was faster, slamming a shock blade into his side, sending thousands of volts through his nervous system. The last Varak let out a snarl, right before Kane's knife found his heart. Silence. 4 enemies dead. No alarms. Sentinel-9 recorded the efficiency of the attack. 3.4 seconds from first strike to final kill. Other species fought with strength. Others fought with numbers. Humans. They fought with lethal precision. The door's lock beeped, and Vaughn grinned. "We're in." The power core room was massive, a towering chamber of humming energy conduits and fusion reactors. The AI analyzed possible ways to disable it. Sabotaging the cooling system would cause an overload. Setting controlled charges at key points would collapse the core. Shutting down the main conduits would leave the station defenseless. Kane studied the reactor. "Sentinel, what's our best play?" The AI ran probabilities. Fastest option: disrupt the coolant systems. The core will overheat in 3 minutes and 29 seconds. The Varak will have no time to respond. Kane nodded. "Do it." Vaughn got to work, splicing wires, rerouting energy conduits. Cole set up explosive failsafes in case they needed a backup plan. Then Sentinel-9 detected something. New enemy movement. Large group. Approaching fast. "They know," the AI warned. "We have company." Kane's expression didn't change. "Then let's give them a welcome." The team spread out, taking cover behind reactor panels. The doors burst open. Varak enforcers stormed in. These weren't simple patrol guards. These were the elite, heavily armored, enhanced, battle-hardened killers. But so were the humans. The fight erupted in an instant. Cole fired first, his rifle rounds punching through armor gaps. Vaughn tossed a flash charge, blinding the first wave. Kane surged forward, knife in one hand, pistol in the other, dodging plasma bolts as if he could see the future. The room filled with chaos, but Sentinel-9 wasn't worried. The Varak had brought their strongest warriors, but they were fighting something worse. They were fighting humans.